What's up, guys? I don't know what you can tell by this unhappy face, but I'm going to tell you a little story today of how everything I thought would fix my van after I had that problem of losing power didn't fix the van, and I ended up with over a $6,000 repair in the end. Lots of things have happened. Lots of things were wrong, allegedly. So I'll just start going with it. Tell you guys all the new things I got. Basically, I lost power on my way to a pickup here in town, and I thought it was the fuel filter. And I had a spare one, but it didn't work out per previous video. So I went to a dealer and bought a new one, $220, something like that, $220, I think. Then I replaced that, nothing happened. Then I replaced the fuel rail pressure sensor myself, and nothing happened then. We tried messing, we tried clearing, we tried cleaning with, dripping seafoam down the, intake pipe to the turbo. Supposedly that was a cleaning thing. Don't do that. I know the other person who was doing it with me, he still drives and his van's fine, but my van was totally not fine. And in the end, I know all these problems had to get fixed anyways at some point, but it just sucks when it's a one-time, when this happens right away and like at one time, you get over a $6,000 repair. That's insane. Basically, after that, I had a guy come out with a special Sprinter computer, and he is a local. He's actually one of the guys that I bought a very first Sprinter van. He was up in like Mount Vernon area. He lived out there before. I went and bought my blue van from him. You guys have never even seen it on the channel. Drove with that, and it was fine. And then I sold it when the miles kept getting higher, so got rid of that van. But anyways, the next thing I called him, and he did a test. He's got a special Sprinter program that he can do anything with it. So he got in and he tested the injectors, and 3 of the injectors were the highest PSI, or not PSI, whatever the spray measurement is for all you guys who know what's going on. The highest one was spraying like 24, and it's supposed to spray anywhere between like 8 and 13 normally, whatever the measurement of the spray is. So 3 of them were spraying really high. The highest was like 24. Some of them were like 22, 19. It was way too much. So it was flooding the system. And 3 of them were like not spraying at all per whatever testing. And we couldn't even really test because the van wasn't in the limp mode, but it was restricting the RPMs. You couldn't raise the RPMs, so he couldn't even really read it. So long story short, he says, okay, well, there's your problem. So he told me a guy that's in Lind, Washington, up by Canada, like up above Bellingham. I went out there, actually thought about him having to ship him, but I was like, well, I'm gonna bite the bullet. So I sat down and drove all the way over there. And that day, went and picked him up in the evening. That cost me $1,200 for a used pair of really good injectors off of a van that had 40,000 miles on him. So I bought all 6 to replace all of them at the same time. That way, we're not dealing with any problems. I replaced that. Guess what? That didn't fix the problem. So he says, well, I don't know what it could be. Then we took out the pressure, the rail, the high pressure rail, and took that off and cleaned the inside of the filter in there. Then it also has a sensor. That didn't help. Then there's also a sensor in that thing. That didn't help. We put it all back together, and the guy goes, well, instead of me driving around back and forth, I've got, spare parts at home. Basically what I can do is, take things apart and kind of, maybe play with parts and see what it is. And so I gave him, basically, he's like, tow the van to my place. And I'm like, man, I don't want to pay $300 to $500 for towing. So basically I got the thing to like barely run and drove it all the way over there to his house. It's like an hour and a half from my house. Drove it over there. he took the turbo apart. He says, I'm going to look at the turbo next because, he says, basically, he's like, I'm going to check. There's a sensor that I have, a spare one, and a high pressure rail, fuel rail. So he's like, I'll replace the rail and I'll replace a sensor after that and see if it works. He did that, and then he did the other thing, and nothing worked. So those got replaced. Then he's like, well, I'm going to take your turbo apart and see what's going on because you're not getting real, boost. There's really, something's restricting, boost. So he took the turbo apart, and then he did a test, and he's like, well, I did a test, and it's, it puts out way too much oil. So he like spools oil. So he did another test with a vacuum, and he's like, well, it doesn't build up pressure. So you are, he's like, you need a new turbo. And he told me even before, when I even took it apart, it had a play in it. And I'm like, well, I thought it was supposed to be there. And he's like, well, it can go in and out, but not up and down. So he told me, he's like, watch out, you're going to need a new turbo. So order one and have one with you, because if you get stuck somewhere, at least you'll have it with you. Well, come to happen that, a new turbo was like $2,000 at the dealership. I didn't order one at the dealership, but I ordered one on Amazon that came to me next day. So Amazon turbo, $500 with tax. Next day it was here. I drove it to his house again. He replaced that. I call him. I'm like, hey, what's the good news? We're van ready for pickup? He's like, no, Andre, van is not ready. Still, we're having issues with boost. Like, seems like something's clogged somewhere or something. Something's going on. So then he asked me, who did your delete for you for the van? And I'm like, I bought it like that. And he's like, well, let me dig around. So he calls me back. He's like, well, your whole like DPF is clogged up. He's like, I don't know who did it for you. They did something way wrong. They should have removed the DPF filter and knocked it out and done a few things, and nobody ever did that. So everything got all clogged up while I was cleaning with seafoam, everything. Well, I was helping myself, I thought. Basically, everything got clogged up in there. So in the end, he messed with that. That really, he opened it. He didn't really mess with it. Then he started messing with the EG, basically the code, and there's no engine codes at all. Like whoever did this delete when I bought the van originally from the guy, it was already done even before him. So whoever did this delete did it totally wrong. Even this guy says, hey man, somebody did your delete wrong. It doesn't show me any check engine codes. There should be some, because this is a problem here. They should be visible, and they're not visible. So whoever did a delete somehow did some kind of a block on there that things weren't popping up, and the check engine light would not come on, and the van would not drive. So in the end, long story short, had to redo the EGR in here. This whole thing was all falling apart in there. Whoever did this didn't do it right. Basically, there's a tube here that will come right here and goes right into there. That was still in here, and everything was clogged in there, and the actual EGR fell apart and was not working correctly. So whoever did my delete was all wrong. Also, throttle body got replaced. This is a throttle body, and the teeth on here, you guys see the teeth? Worn out. So this got replaced. And here's my old injectors, by the way, if you guys know anything about what they're supposed to look like. Here's 1, 2, 3, and 3 like this. These are my old injectors, by the way. So throttle body, I just showed you this. This got replaced as well. And then the MAF sensor, this is a really expensive part too. This got replaced as well, but this is easy. Throttle body, you gotta dig all the way down in there. That was a problem. But anyways, that got done. In the end, my happy face, I hope you can see how happy and joyful I am. The whole thing cost me $6,000, but I got a new turbo out of it. I got a new throttle body. There's things inside of the high pressure rail, which is not this one. This one is not a high pressure. This is a low pressure. On this side, there's a high pressure rail, fuel rail. Oh, and then basically, yeah, the other thing, he was like, well, then maybe it's your high pressure pump. So he had a good used one that he put on here, and that wasn't it. Then he said that I thought maybe your intercooler was clogged. So he, swapped out the intercooler in here too. So I got a new used one of those. High pressure fuel pump also. New oil, obviously, when you're putting the turbo in, that was in there. So I'm like $3,300 or $6,300 into this whole mess, unless I'm forgetting something, maybe. And I wasted a whole day driving. But the good news is, and I told him, I'm like, dude, my issue was he did not tell me how much it was going to cost, and I didn't know the repair costs. I had no clue. I didn't even ask because I had no clue it was going to be so expensive in the end. If I would have known that it's going to be over $6,000, I could have bought a nice newer used engine for that price. Yeah, it doesn't come with everything like a turbo and injectors and a few other things like starter and basic other things that you hang on top of it, but you're going to get a nice good used engine for. I found a guy who was going to give me, or who has one for $5,000, and then it costs anywhere between, it depends where you go, $1,200 to $2,000 to put it in. So I could have been $7,000 into even him doing it, into a brand new engine.